Hello and welcome to Unprofessional Engineering. My name is James.
And you got Luke.
Luke, this is our 50th episode.
Well, it's not my 50th episode.
This is my 50th episode.
So who are we here for celebrating more? Is this like the podcast, or is this all about you today?
I think we're celebrating our listeners. Our community.
You're so good at this.
See how I did that? How I twisted
so
that
good
one?
At this.
So 50 episodes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
almost a year, because you do one a week, right?
Yeah, well, this is actually over a year because we skipped a few weeks.
You got a little lazy there.
Yeah, well, we get busy.
Okay, yeah.
So over a year, think about it. Over a year of episodes, 50 episodes.
That's amazing.
6,000 some followers on Facebook now.
Whoa.
Like 3 on Twitter. A
Well,
handful on Instagram.
The Twitters doesn't really do it for us.
No, it really doesn't. I might just kill that channel. It's stupid.
Sorry for you 3 Twitter followers out there.
That's right. All right, but anyways, in celebration of our 50th episode.
The magnitude and enormity of our 50th.
Enormity, yes. We're going to be doing an hour-long, or maybe more, episode today, covering not 1, not 2, but 3 great wonders of the world.
Right?
Yes.
Is that what we're calling them?
Yes.
Wonders of the world?
I think so.
Okay.
Great pyramids, Great Wall, and Great Colosseum.
I don't think it's the Great Colosseum. We had this discussion.
Are you
before
calling
we started.
malarkey on me?
I'm I can't believe you said malarkey. That was my word.
The word of the day. All right, so let's kick things off with the Great Pyramid.
Okay, I'm
or
down with that.
pyramids. How about that?
So I focus primarily on the Great Pyramid of Giza, I think is how you say it. Is it Giza?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
That's
how
the one
I've
I
always heard it.
focused on.
I have some stuff about a bunch of them, but I think that's where I really focused. Why don't you kick things off for us? I
Okay.
feel like I talk too much.
You always talk too much.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm going with aliens made the pyramid.
I think that's really the answer to a lot of these, but especially the pyramids.
Yeah. So a couple interesting facts about the pyramid.
Would you call them fun facts or just interesting?
I don't know if I'd say fun facts.
Okay.
The pyramids originally had a highly polished, smooth exterior that was almost like glass-like and reflective. You don't see it today because it was almost like a crust on the outside of the pyramid.
It's been worn away.
And now you see kind of those stagger steps.
Acid rain
Yeah,
has
the
washed
jaggedy.
it away or something. Acid rain in the desert.
Well, I think it's probably just they've been there a really long time.
Okay.
But the crazy thing was the precision that the stones, that I think they called them, I don't know if it was capstones, I'm not sure if that's the right word, but they were like within like 1/100th, wow, if I could speak today,
Yeah.
of an inch from one to another with the way they made these stones. They were crazy, crazy precise. And that's why I'm fairly certain aliens made this. Because think about what they had to work with back then. I mean, come on.
Sand,
like
some more
chisels.
rocks and
yeah,
stuff.
So
You're right. That is
highly
pretty
polished.
amazing.
So they looked totally different than they did now.
I have some info on that later on here, but yeah, that's cool.
But you can do it now if you
No,
want.
I don't want to blow my surprise.
Okay, next one is guess, and don't look at your notes.
I'll see if I remember.
Guess how many blocks are estimated to be inside of the pyramid, because this was made up of a whole bunch of blocks.
2.3 million.
I hate you. You don't make this fun. You could at least have guessed incorrectly.
Well, yeah, I would have been like 10,000, and then you'd be like, "Oh, you're so bad at guessing," just like always.
I hate you sometimes.
I know.
Okay.
Can I give some info here?
I would love you to.
I feel like I haven't talked enough.
You like to hear yourself.
I do
Go
love
ahead.
hearing
Go.
myself. So I wanted to talk about the other pyramids while we're at it.
Oh, the others.
Yes. So the first one, the Pyramid of Giza, was built by the pharaoh Khufu.
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 I like
Does that sound about right?
He's a rapper, right?
I think so. Who is Khufu?
No, it's Khalifa. That's right. He's a Pittsburgher.
He is. Black and yellow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This started around 2551 BC.
Whoa.
So that's that long ago. That just screams aliens to me.
It does.
His pyramid, which today stands 455 feet tall, is known as the Great Pyramid. So I guess the other ones are just okay pyramids because they're not as big. But the base is 755 and 3/4 feet on each side. That's pretty big.
That's really big.
Yeah, I'm impressed. And it rises at a 51-degree angle. So that's kind of cool that they could keep it that accurate. Like you said, the 2.3 million blocks were cut and transported and assembled to create. How much does it weigh? Do you know this? Hurry. Tick tock, tick tock.
I don't have it here.
5,750,000 tons.
How could they calculate that?
I don't know. Why not?
I guess
they
if you
know the volume.
Yeah, if you know the volume, the density, I guess that's relatively easy.
We're busting out our engineering skills
mind.
right here.
Well, I'm not really good at that. I guess if you just made a 3D model of it and then just like did mass properties, you'd kind of know.
Right.
Okay.
So this one, according to history, took about 20 years.
That seems really fast to me for the size of that.
There were a lot of what we call slaves working on that.
Yeah, the whole way these were constructed, not just the pyramids, but some of the other things. Every one of these big things that were created, it was a lot of slave labor.
Yeah.
Like the wall was that
wall
way.
had a lot of slaves.
The Colosseum.
Yep.
That seems to be a bad trend.
Well, it was a trend, yeah.
It's not a good one.
Well, the wall wasn't so much. The other two were.
Yeah, they were bad.
So the other pyramids, one was built by Khafre in 2520 BC, and it was slightly smaller, stood on higher ground, and they think this is the one that the Sphinx belonged to. Did you
Okay.
look at that at all?
I did not.
All I saw is that it's this guy's face they think is on the Sphinx, honoring him.
On the front of the cat thingy with that person's head.
I think that's the coolest thing, is that catty Sphinx guy. He's pretty neat.
I think this is all aliens, James.
Well,
I really do.
Again, how do you carve that big cat? I don't know. And then the third one was, I can't say this one's name either, Mankuri. And that was in 1490 when his reign started. I like that they all lived like 1 year.
So
they all died at like 12.
Well, keep in mind, like the life expectancy was like 22 back then.
Yeah.
So these other pyramids you're talking about, this is in the Valley of the Kings. These are all the different pyramids in the same area. Is that what you're talking about?
I think there's like 3 that are in that same area that you always see the pictures of. And on a side note, you know those pictures of how beautiful they are?
If you steal my thunder on this one, I'd be so mad at you.
Go ahead. You want to? What's your thunder that I'm about to steal?
You can dine at a Pizza Hut pizza and watch and look at the Great Pyramids.
Oh, that's funny.
There's actually, like, literally within, I don't know how you hit a golf ball, but a couple of strokes, you could be at a Pizza Hut pizza to the Great Pyramids, because if you look at it, all you got to do is turn around and it's super touristy.
Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say?
I wasn't going to say the Pizza Hut, just that it's like actually the city's right there and then the pyramid. So it's nothing like you think, that it's out mysteriously in this desert and everything else.
So if you Google Pizza Hut pizza in Great Pyramids, what people do is they hold a slice of pizza upside down up against the window, and you actually see the Great Pyramid
and the
pyramid pizza.
Oh, that's so great.
It's pretty good.
Oh, and at least it's really good pizza that you get, too.
Yeah, Pizza Hut's the worst. So another interesting fact about construction, did you know that the cornerstone foundation of the pyramid actually had a ball and socket construction?
I heard that. That's pretty interesting.
And
how did they know to do that?
That's like, how did they know about like thermal expansion and contraction, and that they needed to do that for the size, the fluctuation in temperature, and if you look at the buildings that were built before the pyramids, they were like so primitive.
Yeah.
That's
even as they were getting to the pyramids that we know and love today, they say that there were different steps taken. Like at first they had ones that were just kind of like 6 layers of rectangle, and that was the pyramid. And then eventually they started making the pyramids we know now that have those flat surfaces.
Yeah. And
but really, accounting for thermal expansion as well as to help earthquake-proof them, that's amazing.
And think about the transportation of this stuff, because from what I understand, it was literally like hundreds of miles away is where the quarries were, where they got this stone from. It wasn't like it was like right there is where they were getting these stones from. They had to transport these, 5, 10, 20, 30 ton pieces of stone hundreds of miles. And I guess that's why
I'm not sure if it was hundreds of miles, but it was a ways away. But like a lot of it they got from what would be Cairo now, and then they shipped it down the river, and it was a multiple day process to get it there then.
And I guess if you have enough free labor, you get enough people lifting, it's not that difficult, I guess.
Yeah, and I can't find it in my notes right now, but I think that was that limestone exterior that you were talking about, that shiny thing. I think that's what they shipped in down the river.
Okay.
But they also had another quarry south of where the pyramids were built, and that's where they would dig up these giant blocks, and then they would transport them by person. They'd put them on
That's
like a
crazy.
sled and drag them across the sand. And what I thought was very interesting is that they found that if you dumped water on the sand, it would actually reduce friction. So it took less people to carry this.
That's
now,
pretty
in my
good.
head, that makes it harder to pull the stuff
You would think.
because, well, the sand's not sliding and your feet are getting smashed in the water. But apparently that helped. And then to get them up, they don't know exactly what these ramps looked like, but apparently they just used very large ramps to continue moving these blocks up the
Yeah,
pyramid.
the ramp probably just got further and further away as they got higher
Right.
and higher.
Yeah.
So another interesting fact, and again, this is where the whole alien stuff comes in. And I don't know if this is, I mean, again, this is the internet where we're getting this information.
So it's all true.
It's aligned to true north.
It is.
So the
Aliens.
Great Pyramid, it says, is the most accurately aligned structure in existence. And I don't know if that means in existence then or existence up until today. The way I read it is up until today. And it is 3/60ths of a degree of error. So it's the fact that they could align it that way purposely with that degree of accuracy is just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that is unbelievable.
telling
That's
you.
actually the one part that made me think, wow, maybe this is aliens. Like maybe something happened because that's unreal that it's that accurate, aligned north, and then it's like all the other points go to the directions.
I
That's great.
don't believe in aliens, but
Right.
I don't really know if there's a better explanation.
You don't believe in aliens?
I do not believe in
Like
aliens.
maybe not other humans like floating around out there, but some sort of alien life form somewhere?
No, I don't.
Wow. Okay. Maybe we should have that as a debate for us. Aliens,
Ooh.
do they exist?
We could.
I think that would be a good
That
one.
would be a very good one.
Okay, well, anyways, I have a little bit more on this one, and this is about the construction. So we were talking about how they'd dump water on the sand, and they'd use these things to pull the rocks around, these giant stones that were just ridiculous in size. Other people think that that might not be how all of this was created, and they think that some of the stones were actually cast and poured,
They
kind of like
cast?
concrete.
Whoa. Okay.
So they claim that they used an early form of concrete using limestone, clay, lime, and water. And so when you research this, they've done some research on these stones, especially the ones that make up like the capstone and the higher levels of the pyramids.
Okay.
They find that they had a high water content, which is very unusual because it's usually dry, and limestone's very dry, especially in that area. And they also found atoms that were not arranged in a regular array that would normally be found in sedimentary rock. So it kind of lends to the idea that this was some sort of mixture
Okay.
making these stones versus something that was cut out of the ground in nature and brought and slapped there. They've also done some chemistry, which kind of is like engineering, right?
Kinda.
Or witchcraft. I don't know which.
Easy engineering.
Yeah, it's easy engineering. And they found that it's improbable that the outer and inner casing stones were chiseled from natural limestone.
Okay.
So also that would explain why they could get them so closely together. Like you said, they're using chisels
Yeah.
and hammers or something, primitive hammers, and they're getting them, what, 1/100th of an inch or
The
something?
exterior ones were 1/100th of an inch. The polished ones on the outside.
Yeah, so if they were casting this stuff, it might be a little
Little
easier to
easier.
make that happen.
But even that, casting's
Yeah.
within 1/100th of an inch. I mean, 3D printers, I don't even know if nowadays can do that.
Yeah, they do say, though,
Not the
that
one I have.
some of them were hoisted, but how they hoisted 70-ton granite slabs halfway up the pyramid still remains a mystery. 70 tons!
That's pretty
That's
big.
a lot of people. And
That's
they
a
think
lot of
about
tons.
10,000 people were working on these things at a time.
10,000.
At a time. Not like just 10,000
Oh,
was it.
I
I mean,
was
like
gonna
at
say.
one time.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I like that.
Do you have any more on this one?
So another interesting one is the doors to the entryway. So these places were robbed like crazy.
Oh, I was just going to break out the door info. Go ahead.
So
This is great.
So these doors weighed 20 tons, right? And I have a hard time opening the front door of my house sometimes because it sticks.
Ooh, or if the wind blows and
Yeah.
it holds you back. I'm
And
little.
these 20-ton doors were set so precisely that you could easily just push them open and push them closed. And just the thought of just like finding that center of gravity and like just the hinge point.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know how you could do that with the tools and the technology, the lack of math. I don't know
Maybe
how
they had
did
a little
that.
more math than we knew.
I think they may have had it and lost it, is I
Could have
think
been
what
it.
happened.
That would have been like if they handed it to me. I would have been like, oh, sorry, guys. Forgot about that one. Geometry, huh?
Yeah, so that was really interesting. The fact that you could do that.
Along with the doors being so easily moved, like you said, like one hand easily push it open. When you closed it, it closed so tightly that it was difficult to find the seam where the door would close. Like it would be hard to find where that door is because it was such a snug, like perfect fit.
So,
Aliens.
yeah. Basically, the Stargate movie and the Stargate TV series explains everything you need to know. If you need more information,
Yep.
just watch the Stargate series.
So you've covered most of my fun facts, but I'll throw a few more things out there.
Is it going to be guessing where I guess, or you're just going to throw them out there?
Give me the range of which the blocks weighed.
Oh, geez. 5 to 30 tons?
Yeah, so 2 to 30 is what I have,
Okay.
and some weighed over 50, so that's pretty good. The base of the pyramid covers how many, you can do either square meters or feet.
I have no idea. 500 square meters.
55,000.
It began with a 5.
Yeah, that was pretty good, and it didn't even dawn on me how off you were till I started reading the
Way
number.
off.
Let's see here. Oh, this is a cool one. The interior temperature is constant and equals the average temperature of Earth, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's kind of odd.
Yeah.
And it's not below ground. Like, I get if you're below ground, like when they do those.
Well, maybe it's just so thick. Maybe all
Yeah.
the stones are so thick.
That's
And
interesting.
then the last one that I have that we haven't covered is that the Great Pyramid is located at the center of the landmass of the Earth. The east-west parallel that crosses the most land and the north-south meridian that crosses the most land intersect in two places on Earth. One is in the ocean, and one is the Great Pyramid.
Wow.
So
That's trippy.
that's either alien or blind luck. There's no way they could have known that, right?
Like I said, I think they may have been way more intelligent and they lost it.
But they wouldn't have known. I don't know.
Maybe they explored the Earth and we just never knew it. Who
guess
knows?
so.
Because I have a little bit of a segue where we're going to talk about just a few more pyramids in just a couple minutes here. But pyramids didn't just exist, obviously, in Egypt.
That's true.
I mean, these things were literally all over the face of the earth. And I said something to you last week. I was like, "Oh, there's pyramids in Ireland," and you tried to call BS on me. You were like, "There's no pyramids in Ireland." As a matter of fact, there are pyramids in Ireland. They're earthen mounds.
Yeah, what you call a pyramid in Ireland is like something I made in my backyard as a kid. Like, it's so pathetic.
But
they were drunk, so
they probably were.
They gave up partway.
The structural concept is the same, and these are separated by hundreds of thousands of years. They're separated
Yeah.
by great distances. So the fact that this technology and the concept of building these pyramids is all over the place, there may have been a little more, I'll say, exploration than we think of when we think of what the Earth was like back then and how people explored.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there because
Okay.
the one I want to talk about, this is my personal experience, and this can be the last thing if we're done with pyramids, is Chichen Itza.
Oh, it's pretty cool, huh?
It's very cool.
Ooh, before you go into it with your experience, did you get to walk up it or no? Was it shut down by then?
I did walk up it.
See, when I went, it was already, you weren't allowed to go up the steps anymore.
Yeah, so this was probably 12, no, more than that. This was probably 20 years ago, 17 years ago.
So I was barely alive then.
You were barely alive.
So old.
My brother and I were in Cancun living it up.
Oh, nice.
You know how that is.
Yeah.
So we go to Cancun, we go to Chichen Itza, and the first thing they tell me, James, is whatever you do, don't pet any of the dogs or feed any of the wild dogs, because there's all these wild dogs all over the place. I'm
do
thinking,
like
okay,
dogs.
whatever. So we go and we do the pyramid. We climb up using a rope to the top, and then you come back down.
There was a dog at the top of the pyramid?
Not at the top of the pyramid.
Oh.
So we're doing the pyramid thing, and then we saw someone fall which was crazy. So
They fell off the pyramid?
So as we were leaving, so if you look at the pyramid, beside the steps, there's a smooth like banister that comes all the way down, and then there's like the head of like a lion or a serpent or whatever it is at the bottom. Somebody kind of slid halfway down, and we were probably like 200-300 yards away, but we heard everybody screaming, and we turned and we just saw him coming down. And my guess is he died.
Maybe that's why we were no longer allowed to walk.
Kind of crazy. And there was an ambulance there waiting, so my guess is this happens pretty regularly. So back to the dog story. So we're in Chichen Itza.
To the important part.
The important part. So I see this little dog, cutest thing you could imagine. I lean over to pet him, and he starts like having a hissy fit, barking.
Because he's a little dog.
And starts chasing me.
Okay.
And chased me for like 10 minutes and would not leave me alone. Wouldn't bother anybody else.
How little was this dog?
I'm guessing it was about 90 pounds.
Oh, that's not little at all.
My brother said it was like a Chihuahua, but I felt like it was like a 90-pound dog.
I got it.
So
Yeah.
that's my Chichen Itza experience. What was really cool, and the cool thing about Chichen Itza is it's similar to the pyramids, where there's a whole bunch of different structures. They're all pyramid in shape, and they also had a court there where they played this crazy game
with
the
the
balls.
rocks and their elbows.
And if you win, you got sacrificed. So if you won, you died, because you wanted to win to appease the gods, not lose and get killed. It was crazy.
That's
But
interesting.
So Chichen Itza, really interesting. That was the pyramid that I went to.
The only thing I remember about it is that serpent thing. The way they had it like cut when the shadows were cast, you could see like the body of the snake or something like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I thought
I
that's
didn't
pretty
notice
cool.
that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I saw it. I just saw a picture of it.
Okay.
Maybe that was Photoshop. Who knows? All right. Before we get into the Great Wall of China, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor.
I love when we have sponsors.
Yeah, man. This week we have a good one too.
Who's that?
No, we don't have
Oh,
one. Even for our
James.
50th episode, we couldn't manage one. We could have gotten, I don't know,
feel like
AAA as.
I feel like we have someone that we know whose husband owns a machine shop that could maybe sponsor us and get us some T-shirts and
Maybe if we
make us some cool stuff.
if we do another CNC,
we might give it a shout
episode
out
or something.
and they could sponsor it.
yeah.
Just
Well,
saying.
Anybody that is out there that wants to sponsor us, feel free to email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com. Same thing goes. If you subscribe to Unprofessional Engineering, feel free to email us at unprofessionalengineering@gmail.com with proof of your subscription, and we will mail you.
The sweetest stickers you've ever seen.
That is exactly it. The sweetest stickers you've ever seen.
Ever.
I've mailed out a number of them at this point, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we had a
It makes
great
me
week.
feel good.
Yeah, we had a great week last week. This week, not so much.
Not so much. Not a lot of love this week, but that's okay. Everyone will be excited about this celebration that we're having.
Yeah.
So they'll probably subscribe and write in. But if any of
in
you
droves.
who have gotten stickers, if you want to show them off, feel free to post them on the social medias like Facebook, because otherwise I probably won't look at Twitter.
Yeah, and we'll probably retweet it, give it a like,
Maybe.
that sort of stuff.
And that would just make you that much more internet famous.
cool.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the Great Wall of China. I'm going to start this one off because it's amazing.
It is.
Not really.
Oh, can I start? Okay.
Oh, so you want to start?
Oh, I'm not going to start.
Do you have a story about the Great Wall of China as well? Does
So
it
I
involve a
watched the
dog?
Matt Damon movie.
Oh, so you know all about it.
And I know all about the Great Wall
Okay,
of China.
tell me
now.
about this then.
The only thing, so big misconception, and I don't know if you were going to go there with this.
I might.
I was totally under the impression that the Great Wall of China was this big,
Was great.
continuous wall that totally was one thing.
It sort of is.
And when I looked and we started doing the research, it was such a letdown.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's a part, and then there's like a big, huge gap. And then there's like another part, and then a big gap.
So it's a bunch of parts, but they eventually got connected together, except there were parts that it's like, well, this part of the wall is a mountain.
it's like 10 feet
it's
tall.
Dirt. Yeah. Yeah, it is a little disappointing.
Very disappointing.
I'm going to test you. I'm going to blow one of my fun facts.
Here we go.
True or false, the wall can be seen from outer space.
So I'm fairly certain this is a misconception. So false. You cannot see it from outer space.
Very good. People have been exaggerating this for centuries, which makes not a lot of sense, being that we've only been in space for not that long.
Like how would they guess?
If you want to know about how long we've been in space, why don't you go watch our episode or listen to our episode about space stations?
Look at you.
Ooh,
Shamelessly plugging.
I already missed another one as I was saying it. I was like, I should have mentioned it. But that's
have.
okay. But they said maybe you could see it from low orbit, but not outer space.
Gotcha.
So anyways, the Great Wall of China. A lot of people claim it as the greatest human effort of any of the ancient constructions, just because of the length of time, the number of people involved, the distance that it covers. 100 million tons of bricks, stone, and soil were moved around and assembled by millions of soldiers, peasants, prisoners, and animals to build this stupid thing.
Did you know?
Probably.
Ooh. Did you know that this was the first time kiln-fired bricks were used for construction? So
I did not know that.
They were actually pretty big. They said that they're about 4 to 5 times larger than the bricks we think of today. And it was one of
So those are like the big cinder block bricks, maybe, that they were carrying around.
But it was the first time they ever actually did kiln-fired bricks
That's
that
neat.
they know of in construction. And they actually, for quality purposes, they would stamp them. So you can actually see bricks with stamps.
Where they were made then, who made them,
like
or
who made
what factory.
them. Exactly.
Wow.
And this was back in the Ming Dynasty. This is like...
that was the late part of the wall construction in the Ming Dynasty, right.
But that's crazy that you could actually see and know where those bricks were made. I thought that was pretty interesting with the bricks.
So the wall itself did start way before that, in 221 to 206 BC during the Qin Dynasty. Mm-hmm. And I actually did the whole Google, how do you pronounce this thing? Because I was like, and then turns out it was Qin.
Qin.
Yeah. So that's cool. But the first emperor of the Qin Dynasty garrisoned armies on the wall so that they could stand guard over the workers that were building this thing. So I thought that was pretty nice, because as opposed to all the slaves doing all the work, there were a lot of soldiers doing this to start things off, because this was being built to protect them from... Who were they? The Mongols, I suppose.
Yep.
Were some of the people. There was someone else.
Genghis
The
Khan.
Manchurians were also coming down.
I think it was Genghis
to beat people.
Khan. It was Khan, right?
Probably.
That sounds right.
Genghis?
Jenga's a game. And Jango Fett is from Star Wars.
Boba Fett?
No.
So we're off track here, I think. Anyways, they kept building this wall, adding height, adding distance, connecting the different parts together. But like you said, during the Ming Dynasty, that's when the wall took on its present form, where you see the brick exterior and granite work and all these sophisticated designs that were added to it. What else do you have to add about that? Anything good?
Some of the early techniques, it was another construction technique. It's actually called a poured earth technique. So what they do is they create these piles. So just the way we do things like a concrete pylon today, they would take a tube, basically, and they would put in earth and gravel, and then they would tamp it, and then they would put another layer and tamp it, another layer and tamp it. So before they were doing the bricks, these were basically these giant mounds of super tamped earth, and they're still standing today. So obviously, the construction technique is a pretty legit technique. So
I love that you care nothing for the history.
What do you mean?
I'm like, yeah, so back in 221 BC, this is when they started doing the work, and you're like, let me tell you about the soil.
Well, I don't know. I feel, to me, that's the
No, this is great. Let's go. Let's talk about materials. Other materials that were used, like stone. Parts of the wall, like you said, were tamped soil. That's how it started.
I know you and I have the same one. Are you going to say
I'm
it
just
first,
going
or
to.
am I?
I don't know. I was just going to say that stone was quarried from the mountain areas, the mountainous areas, and that's
query is something you do in Excel.
query.
You run a query.
You run a query. Quarried.
Quarried. Okay.
So if you were near a mountain, you got rock wall. If you were near dirt, you got dirt wall.
Okay.
If you were in a desert, you got sand. And this was one of the most interesting things that I thought for the wall. The sand part of the walls were a mixture of a sand as a fill material between reed and willow layers. So they
That's
would go
interesting.
to an oasis or a river down the road or down the desert,
Okay.
and they would gather up all these reeds and willows, and they would like thatch them together as the exterior of the wall, and then they'd use sand to fill it on the inside. So that's how the desert parts of West China created
Really?
their wall. Yeah.
I like that.
Then you said the brick, which was the rebuilt sections in the Ming Dynasty using brick and lime mortar.
And do you know what they did with the mortar? Did you read this one?
I don't know. I was about to say something.
I'm sorry I interrupted
You're going to steal it. Yeah, I know you're going to steal it. Go
They
ahead.
they used rice.
They did. They used sticky rice.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And they said that it actually was a great binder, and that's why
If you eat enough sticky rice, that and
it's
cheese.
a great binder. That's why they said the wall is still holding up, because of the properties of
Yeah.
the starch that's in that rice holding that mortar
Well,
together.
think how well it holds together on sushi, right?
And if you think about just it was readily available, right? Like you said, whatever they had access
Yeah.
to. So that kind of made sense. You needed some kind of binder for the mortar. Why not use what you had access to?
Do you have more to talk about with the materials or something?
I
I
think-
feel like I started stealing it from you because you stole my history.
No, I have some more misconceptions about it. So some people think the wall was built to be a big defense mechanism, and the reality
It
was
sort of was.
it was pretty bad at it, because
It was bad.
yeah,
You're right.
because basically Genghis Khan went to the wall and was like, "Hey, let's go to the right," and they went to the right, and there wasn't a wall anymore, and then they got in.
Maybe we go a little further this way.
Yeah, so and the idea that it was this impenetrable wall, like the Matt Damon movie. I haven't seen it, but I've watched all the previews, and supposedly this wall is like protecting them from all these dragons in the movie. All the dragons had to do in reality was just like go to the right.
Yeah. Right.
Just saying.
You got it. I think it's interesting that you're right. It is bad at what it does, and it wasn't just bad because the Mongols did that back in like 1300 or
Yeah,
something like that.
1368.
There you go. But the Manchurians did it 300 years later during another dynasty, and it wasn't really that they were because of the weakness of the wall, that the wall was so bad, but it was more the weakness of the government.
Okay.
That it didn't have the number of people manning it, and they didn't have the infrastructure, and the poverty of the people made it so that there wasn't anyone watching this wall. So like you said, well, we'll just go to the right a little bit, and now we can hop over the wall over here. We can put our ladders up or whatever, and we can take it down because they didn't have the people watching it. Even that being said, maybe even if they did have that many people, it might have not worked so well.
Okay.
I
It's the longest man-made structure in the world.
Is it?
Yep.
How long is it?
I can't believe we didn't say that yet. So they say it's roughly 13,000 miles long.
Do you know how many trips across Pennsylvania that is? 13,000 miles.
That is a lot.
Holy moly.
And actually, if you count all the different like offshoots, it actually supposedly goes even higher than that.
That's
So
right,
all the
because it's
different-
not necessarily one wall weaving all the way around. There's little branches of it as
Yeah.
well that come off. You're
Yeah.
right. And so it's
which is
longer than
which is
that.
crazy. The next interesting thing was the wall is on average how tall?
On average, how tall? 14 feet?
25 feet.
25 feet.
And guess how wide it is? It ranges from
25-foot base.
I'm sorry, the top part where
15 feet.
Yeah, 15 feet. There's places where you can drive 2 cars through.
Really?
It's like in some places it goes up to 30 foot
I don't
wide.
know if I believe that.
I don't know how you get the car on there, but
Yeah. So, well, go ahead. I'll give you my story here once we're done with all of this great information.
So in 1987.
Oh my goodness, 87?
Yeah, so 1987.
Did they tear the wall down?
No, they did it wrong. It's on that side
Okay,
of the
but-
ocean, but yeah,
Okay,
different.
wrong wall. Okay.
It was actually placed on the World Heritage List, so it's
I
actually.
think my mom's on that list.
No, it's different. So there's all these World Heritage sites that have great historical significance for different cultures,
Sure.
and it was placed on that back in, like I said, 1987.
Oh, well, that's pretty interesting.
And
Oh my goodness, there's more.
guess how many people visit per day?
Per day? 1.2 million.
70,000 people per day.
Wow, I was really, really off.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like a factor of a lot off.
Yeah.
Okay, 70,000 per day visit. That's
Yeah.
it? That's really not all that impressive.
But that's, I guess it isn't if you think that's like a Steeler game, right?
Right? A Steelers
Wow,
game.
that's
goes-
horrible now
Yeah.
that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. It's
but every day.
It's 13,000 miles long, and they only get a Steelers game.
But this is like the one section. It's the popular section
I know
I'm
the one
talking
section,
about.
yeah.
So
All right. Let me talk about the design a little bit. How
Okay.
about that?
I love
so
it.
there were, I think, 3 major components. There were passes, signal towers, and walls. So the passes were like major strongholds along the wall. So it wasn't just one big wall where people hung out. They also had to have places where the soldiers could rest and sleep, and supplies were stored. But they were usually positioned at key intersections along the trade routes. So, that's where people are going to be attacking. Hey, here's a road. Well, of course, we're going to have a stronghold there.
Okay.
So they had a number of these. And I believe they were, not all that far apart. They were usually only hundreds of yards apart. At least the towers were. No, that was just the signal towers were. These were a little bit further apart. So they were, like you're saying, about 30 feet in diameter.
the cool thing about these signal towers, it was
the
just
signal towers.
like Lord of Rings.
It is.
They would use flames,
And they've found this.
and they would like light one, and then the guy to the right would see it, and he'd light his, and that's how they would signal.
Imagine being the guy that has to stand by the dung and hay pile to light it on fire if
Just
something's
look at
going
it
on.
until
Like,
you
smell
see-
that thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
until people show up. But you're right. The signal towers were, I think they were like 40 feet tall.
Yep.
Which is pretty high. And like you're saying, usually they would be doing some sort of fire where they would light it on fire, and at night you would see the fire, or during the day you would see smoke signals, and they would light all them up, and then everybody would know the dragons are coming.
That's right.
Isn't that right?
Matt Damon is coming.
They could also do things like raise banners to let people know that trouble was on the way.
Okay.
Or firing guns further down the road. So I thought that's cool.
When was the last year any major construction was done? Don't look at your notes.
I don't have that.
You
I'll
don't?
go with 2001.
No, like building it.
Oh, I don't know, 1680?
1644,
Yeah.
when the Ming Dynasty was overthrown,
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
last time any construction of new wall was done. Obviously, they've done reconstruction for tourist purposes
Right.
and that sort of thing, but actually making new walls was
No.
1644.
Doesn't that seem like really not that long ago? Like
1644?
1644, don't you have like siege towers and things that this tiny little wall isn't really going to protect you from?
Yeah,
anything?
probably.
They didn't know about the armored, suited men at that point of Europe.
You think?
I don't know. I can't back that up. We probably have covered this.
I can't back that up.
If you go to our Viking ship episode,
Okay.
you would know that they have gone there and that the Europeans found out a lot of cool things about sails and how to sail ships from the Chinese.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting. Let's see. The last part's the wall. I feel like we talked about the wall a lot.
The
It's
wheelbarrow.
a wall.
The
Oh,
wheelbarrow
it was a big help. It was.
invented in China right around the time of the initial building of the wall, and it was used extensively. So
They did, and they also used a rope and pulley system to move like buckets of stuff across big valleys to
I like
save
that.
in time. I saw something that I don't know is true. Well, first off, I'll give you this. They used a lot of horses, oxen, and camels to move
Camels
stuff
in
around.
China?
Well, in West China, it's a desert. Remember
Okay,
the reed wall?
Yep.
Do you know how to say camel in Turkish?
In Turkish?
Yes.
I do not.
Deve.
Deve.
Yes, that's the total knowledge I have of the Turkish language. So
Dave.
for all of our Turkish listeners, there you go.
And I love Turkish coffee, by the way. Have
do
you ever
you?
had Turkish
I
coffee?
have not.
They actually put the grinds right in the water, and you boil it, and then you just pour it slowly because the grinds go to the bottom. It's really good
Interesting.
coffee.
Speaking of coffee, if you want to know how coffee beans are made, you could check out our episode on coffee.
You would think we were planning these shameless
Oh,
plugs.
Right, they are shameless. But the one thing I didn't know is they claim goats were used to move material up steep mountains, where they would strap bricks
That
to
is
their horns,
genius.
and the goats would climb and force the goats to climb up the mountains
That
with
is
the bricks.
genius.
Yeah, I thought that's pretty cool. But anyways, I have my Great Wall of China story.
Okay.
Since you had Chichen Itza covered.
You were at the Great Wall of China?
I was at the Great Wall of China.
No, you were not.
So I was in Beijing, and I'll tell you my forbidden city or whatever it's called story offline sometime.
Okay.
But the Great Wall, I had to get on a bus and ride for a couple hours, and I got there. And it's just like any field trip you would be used to, where it's just buses and buses of students.
So it was
and
really
people.
touristy.
And, well, they had a big market, like a street market for you to buy all of, like, the waving cats and whatever else that you might want to buy. All the trinkets. And then you get to the wall, and it's not awesome.
Really?
I mean, it's kind of cool. You're like, wow, this thing goes on forever. But like you're saying, you walk this portion that they redid, and then after, I'd say maybe 30 minutes of me walking, it ends. It's like, well, now here's a rocky part that we haven't redone. You can walk on it at your own risk, but you're probably going to break an ankle and die. And it's like, well, that's really disappointing.
That seems like a letdown for like one of the major wonders of the world.
To travel that far and then that happens, it's kind of like, oh, bummer.
The other thing too
It was cool, don't get me wrong.
that I heard was the people in China don't think of the wall the same way we think of the wall. Like for them, they actually, in some cases, don't like the Great Wall of China just because of what it represented in the history in the past and kind of blocking people out and, not letting people in. So I think we kind of make it bigger than it actually is.
I think so too. The one cool thing about the wall, though, is that during the winter there is a section of it that you can go sled riding down.
That would be pretty cool.
That would be sick. Yeah. A couple things I did find out, or at least one thing that I found out when I was there, is that new sections of the wall are still being discovered, which is kind of cool.
Archaeologists digging stuff up. Yeah, they
Indiana
said
Jones.
Some of it just totally disappeared over time, where it just either was knocked down or grew over or earthquakes or whatever.
Yeah. Are you good on the wall? Anything else?
I have to go watch that Matt Damon movie.
Again?
Because
did you not watch it?
I just saw the previews.
Oh.
And
It looks terrible.
It does look. Well, that wasn't a movie that was actually done with an American studio. It was actually a Chinese movie studio that did it, and they hired Matt Damon and a couple other characters.
Something. When I was in China, I watched what's the movie with those blue people?
The Blue Smurfs?
No.
Oh, Avatar.
Avatar. That's the only time I saw Avatar. It was in Chinese, and it was like half the length of the actual Avatar movie because they cropped so much out of it because they don't approve of whatever was happening.
Okay.
So that was all very interesting.
Interesting.
And so I didn't really like Avatar.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so before we get into the Colosseum, let's take another break.
2 breaks?
2 breaks.
Wow,
We're going to be making big money now.
Have a sip of coffee for this one.
So we still don't have any sponsors. Nobody's called us up.
In the last 20 minutes, we haven't had a sponsor.
They've been, listening to us. But I did want to let everyone know that if you missed the last couple episodes, I don't know why you would, we are actually going to be at Autodesk University this year. We're now lining up people to talk to, giving great interviews with Autodesk employees and how they see their software, working with engineering, as well as customers of the things we're going to talk about, how they're designing stuff. I actually was talking to someone about maybe finding someone from Porsche that was going to...
That would be sweet.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Do you think they'd let us drive one of the cars?
I can only assume they would.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So if you happen to be in Las Vegas for Autodesk University, maybe you should look us up. And if not, maybe you should just go to Las Vegas for Autodesk University to see us because we're pretty good dudes.
Well,
I'm a pretty okay dude.
I'm much better than you.
He is. So that's all I had to say about that.
Yeah, make sure you check us out. And the whole thing is, if you can't make it, we're going to bring AU to you.
That's true. We're going to try and live stream. We're going to bring videos. We're going to break out our interviews. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, we'll have because it's not just going to be the podcast. We'll probably you'll probably be able to watch some of the keynotes. You might be able to see a few classes through us and some of the things we're doing. So, if you can't make it, we'll have at least a taste of AU for you.
There you go. It'll be like you're in Vegas partying with us.
Not really.
Okay. Anyways, let's move on to the Colosseum.
Please.
Oh, so where do you... Let's have you start again,
Okay.
Luke. Now, let's try and have you start, like, when it started. Not be like, it's made out of cement.
That's what's at the top of my notes. Okay, so interesting fact.
Oh, okay.
It is and was and still is, I don't know
Wow.
how that works,
Wow.
the largest amphitheater ever built.
Oh, is that right?
Like
I did not know that.
there is not an amphitheater today that is larger than the Colosseum. Nothing has been built bigger than that as an amphitheater. So an
That's
interesting
interesting.
fact. So it's elliptical, and
It is elliptical.
it is. I'm going to do feet. It is 615 feet long. It
Wow.
is 510 feet wide. So
Because it's an ellipse.
but that's almost a circle if you kind of do the math.
If you thumb it.
So the area.
How high is it?
I got the height of
187 feet.
187
There we
feet.
go.
I got
Good
that
job.
one. The base is 6 acres.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That's
6
really
acres?
big.
That is. That's really unbelievable.
Big. And it weighs, or I'm sorry, the volume of the amphitheater is like 1.3 million cubic feet.
It's pretty big.
That is really big.
Yeah.
I guess I always, like, in the pictures, you see all the broken down one, and I thought this was like kind of small. But
See, when we were discussing what to talk about, we brought up the pyramids quickly.
Yeah.
We hit the Great Wall pretty quickly. And then the third item we were kind of fighting about.
Yeah, we were.
And I threw this out there, and you're like, there's nothing good about this. And I think this is the dark horse for the most interesting
I feel
of all
this
three.
is now I agree with you.
Okay.
I definitely agree with you now.
Yeah.
So it's actually an enormous structure.
It is.
And I guess I didn't realize it was that big.
All right. Can I give you some of my history? I know
Please,
that you'll fall asleep.
You love
but it's-
talking. Go ahead.
I do. So this place, the Colosseum, was built where Nero's palace was. Do you know Nero?
Yeah, he was
Robert De Niro?
He was the Caesar.
He was. He was the Caesar, right. So he had this giant palace complex, and on it was this giant pond, like a lake.
Okay.
And this is actually where the Colosseum was built. So they had to have 26-foot drains to take the water out of the surrounding valley and get rid of all of this water. And then they had to raise the land up as well. So I
Wow.
thought that was really interesting.
Seems like a lot of work.
As the first engineering feat, they had to drain all of this water out of there.
Okay.
So then the Colosseum began around 73, 75 AD, and it almost finished by 79 when,
That seems pretty quick.
when Vespasian, I think his name was in charge, but then he died. Sorry about your luck. You
Yeah,
didn't get
these
to see the finished
Caesars were.
product.
Yeah, they every so many years they got a new Caesar.
Yeah, his oldest son Titus completed the building though, and the inaugural games were kicked off in 81. And I don't really have too much information about the games, but I mean, it was all about killing people and animals and battling, and it was free to the public. People could just come in.
If you were a Roman citizen.
Right, if you were a Roman citizen, and they would feed you, and you could drink and watch these battles, and some of the battles would last up to 100 days. These
That's
things
crazy.
were epic.
And these guys were demented too.
Oh, yeah. They
They
did
were
some
like
crazy
totally
stuff.
insane. So there are species of animals they say don't exist anymore because they collected
that
them
right?
and they hunted them in the Colosseum. Like they would bring in these animals and they would like shoot them. They'd tie them up and they'd shoot
Kill 'em.
them and stab them and shoot them with bow and arrows. So yeah,
That's cool.
they were insane. Like they would kill like the one fact I read in one day they killed like 100 bears.
Wow.
Like who? After you kill one bear, what do you
Why
need
do you need to
99
kill
more of
more?
them?
Yeah.
And like how fun is it to watch?
Hey, boo boo. That's pretty good.
That big enigma is good.
So the second son, I don't know how to say his name either, Domitian, he added the top layer, or the
You're
top
the worst
tier.
at names.
Emma, how do you say it?
Domitian.
Okay. He added the top tier of the Colosseum, and he also added the network of rooms, cells, tunnels, and all the pathways underneath the Colosseum, known as the hypogeum.
Okay.
And that means the underground. From the Greek words, hypo, meaning under, and, I don't know, Gaia, Gaia, meaning earth.
I'm sorry. I just love watching you try to translate Greek.
Yeah, so back to our slavery, an estimated 100,000 prisoners were used to build the Colosseum, to lift and transport stones, giant stones, 20 miles from Tivoli to Rome. That's nutso.
Yeah, it is.
That's the technical term, Luke, is nutso.
Nutso?
Yeah.
Can I go back to
That's
the building?
all the history. That's all
Since
the
we went
history.
back to
So
the building
let's
for a minute?
go back to the building.
So did you know that
did.
the entire building was made from basically a variety of limestone,
I knew that.
and there's no mortar?
There's no mortar. Nope. I knew that.
So they actually just fit these stones together, and they used iron clamps to hold, different locations together.
They were actually using travertine, not
What?
limestone.
Well,
it's a
travertine
type.
travertine is a variety
Yes.
of limestone.
Okay. Without
So-
mortar. Held by iron clamps.
I don't know.
300 tons of iron clamps.
I just don't get how you could build that entire thing with just like weight and clamps.
See, we're back to Jenga.
That's exactly
It's
what
exactly
this is.
what it is. Yeah, you're right. I don't know how they do that either, with nothing holding it together. But one of the interesting things that they talked about is the inventions of concrete and the vaulted arches. Both played such a huge part in the Colosseum.
Okay.
Before that, nothing could have been built this big because they didn't really understand concrete and how to make it. And this is a time that they really took advantage of that, plus the arches. And if you want to know more about arches, you could listen to our episode on the aqueducts.
I have to tell you.
I think it's the aqueducts.
You need
Did
to
we do that?
You need, not you and I.
Did
but
Dave
you,
and I do that?
You must have.
Maybe it was bridges. I think it was bridges.
You got to stop the shameless plugs.
Well,
that's
people
like
want
your,
to know
that's
what
like
we
your
have to
fifth
offer.
one.
It was my fourth.
That's enough.
It was my fourth
Okay.
one.
So interesting. 80 entrances to the Colosseum. So
80.
So whenever we did, what was that baseball field we went to in Boston? What's that called?
Fenway.
Fenway. I thought Fenway had a lot of entrances. Like
Yeah.
it just seemed like there was like one right after another. But
Interesting fact,
80.
Fenway is almost as old as the Colosseum.
Wow, I feel like you're totally making that
I
up.
don't think that's true.
I don't think that's
You're right.
true at all.
Interesting about the 80 entrances, though.
Yes?
The Colosseum was designed with those 80 entrances so that it could be emptied in 5 minutes.
They should do.
5
Wow,
minutes.
I feel
That's a
like
heck of
I
a
feel like
fire drill.
Heinz Field should do that.
And we're talking 50 to 80,000 people that were in the Colosseum could all drain out of there.
It takes
in no
me
time.
like 40 minutes to get out after
No,
a
it
Steeler
takes
game. It's the
forever.
worst.
Maybe it's where we sit. I don't know.
36 trap doors.
Oh, this is the best
Did I
part.
steal this
No,
thunder
go
from
ahead.
you?
No, go ahead.
No, you can do it.
No. I want you to tell
So
me. and I'll fill
basically,
in.
in the floor, they would have these trap doors, and they would use it basically for like, it said in the research, for like special effects. Like they would have like lions and bears like jump out of these
Yeah.
trap doors and attack these poor people that were like defending themselves with like sticks.
They could lift a load, the trap doors and the things to lift them up, the elevators to lift them up, could lift a load of 300 kilograms. And they would bring in wolves and boars and bears and antelopes. They'd even bring in elephants and hippopotamuses. Hippopotami?
I think it's hippopotami.
Hippopotami. And were also delivered.
So
And this is one of the reasons they eventually shut down the games,
Why is
because
that?
it ended up getting so expensive to start
Yeah.
bringing in all these animals that they couldn't afford to
So
do it
you
anymore.
mentioned this the other day, and I called. I was like, "Yeah,
Oh,
you're
this
wrong."
is awesome! Yeah.
But they apparently pulled out this wooden floor, and they would flood this thing with water, and they would do like miniature naval reenactment battles.
In 86 AD, they used 1.25 million gallons of water that they pumped into the Colosseum to make it about 5 feet deep and did a huge naval
I
reenactment.
totally thought you were making that up until
Isn't
I started
that
doing it.
amazing?
And then I guess I never did it again.
Yeah, that was like a one-time deal. Well, they did that, and then I think after that is when the next sun showed up and put in all the tunnel ways
Yep.
and trapdoors and things like that. So I don't think it happened a lot, but that is really cool that they did that. It's kind of like going to, what's it called now? Well, whatever Consol Energy was, PPG Paints
Yeah.
Arena, and how they have hockey, and then the next day they'll have a concert there. They just swap out the floor. That's what they were doing
I
here.
doubt they
except
did it in a
flooding
day.
Well, not in a day. But you know what I'm saying.
Another interesting fact.
Let's hear it. I'm very interested.
So the exterior facade of the Colosseum was made with these beautiful pieces of marble.
Okay.
They actually, no, I don't know if it's stole, but they basically took that marble after the Colosseum started to fall and decay from different earthquakes.
And lightning strikes.
And St. Peter's Basilica has some of the marble in St. Peter's Basilica is from the original Colosseum building.
This is true.
That was
amazing.
pretty interesting.
Something that was a consistent theme through all three of the places we've talked about is that parts of them have been torn down for all of them to go build different things, either rebuild cities, build up housing, or build other monuments. So all of them have had pieces torn down to build other stuff. Another thing that I think was amazing, back to all the great engineering they're doing, is a sewer system had to be added to the Colosseum because of the, mass of humanity that was going there.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So they had water for different reasons. They had drinking water, they had toilets, they had waste disposal. Of course, they had the naval battles. But there was evidence that it had side towers with cisterns that were filled with water, and they were able to feed drinking fountains. And so and they got all of their water from the Aqua Claudia, the big aqueduct.
Yep.
It filled everything up, and it was fed through terracotta pipes throughout the entire Colosseum, through the walls. So these pipes were placed in the walls to supply them with water, which I just think is amazing. Plus, it had, one of my favorites is the public toilets. They were constructed as just kind of like communal holes, like holes in the ground. It's kind of like going to a Steelers game again. And it just had water flowing through them at the whole time. And so people would just be able to go to the bathroom while they were watching people get murdered. It was amazing. And this all then connected to the main sewer system of the city. Like, this is just an amazing
The
design.
fact that they took that into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, and back to the trapdoors. This is something
You
we
love the
glossed over.
trapdoors.
I do. I think they're the coolest thing. They used 7-meter-high wooden machines powered by slaves pushing like these giant wooden wheels, and that's what was used to lift these different animals that were brought up and to open the trapdoors.
So in the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe.
Was that the Colosseum they were in?
So they had little Colosseums as well. Like, if you weren't like an awesome fighter, you would go to these like rinky-dink ones and you'd work your way up.
Okay.
And then you became like this real famous gladiator.
Okay.
And would go and fight in the big Colosseum.
Okay,
So
so
yeah, I believe that was that
That was
Colosseum.
supposed to be the Colosseum.
so,
Okay.
right.
Just checking.
One more thing about how awesome the engineering was for this Colosseum.
Shoot.
This was the first time that they came up with standardized parts for the Colosseum. And they made 50,000 plus seats, all exactly the same size, everything, so that they could quickly mass produce all these and slap them in easily. So the idea of standardized parts was created for this. So they were all interchangeable, equal sized. If something broke, it was easily replaced. It was pretty awesome.
Interesting.
It was interesting, in fact.
So my biggest takeaway from this whole Colosseum thing is that back in Titus and all these different Caesars, these people were so messed up. Because basically the only thing they used the Colosseum for, like the only thing that didn't involve like people getting their heads stepped on by elephants,
right?
Because that was a way they would execute people.
That's one way to go.
That's a horrible way to go, because I imagine it wasn't too quick. But like the naval thing was probably the least violent thing they did.
Hold on. You think getting your head stepped on by an elephant wasn't that quick of a way to go?
I would think it would happen slowly. Like he would like kind of push, and like your eyes would pop out, and then you'd kind of like.
I feel like it's
the guy
a couple seconds tops.
Like the guy in Walking Dead, and you're like and then.
I don't watch that show. It's too slow.
I don't
It's
either.
boring.
I watched that episode, and that was it.
Okay.
But like the naval thing was the least violent thing. Like everything involved gladiators fighting. It involved animals getting killed.
Yeah.
There's some stuff we can't talk about that they did with giraffes. And there was some really crazy stuff that these emperors did just to entertain the people. And the fact that the people went, what does that say about the culture and society back then? They had to be.
I'd really like to go check that out.
They were jacked.
I think it would be neat.
No.
Not to watch them kill people. I mean, go see the Colosseum.
I think the Colosseum would be very interesting. But my guess is it would probably be just like your trip to China. You'd be like, oh, I can't wait to go see the Colosseum. And
Wow,
you'd
it's
roll
really
up,
broken.
You'd roll up to the Colosseum, and it would be small. There'd be people selling you trinkets, and you'd be there for 30 minutes and be like, okay, that's it.
Yeah, I'm going back to Heinz Field. See you later.
My guess is that's what
Beaver Stadium.
These are the fact that there's a Pizza Hut at the pyramids, and I just feel that all these places are tourist traps.
Do you have some time for some guessing games?
I love guessing
All right,
games,
back to my
James.
fun
You know
facts.
me.
How many people are thought to have lost their lives during the duration of the Colosseum hosted events?
I'm gonna say 250,000.
500,000 people.
I'm about half.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of people more.
That's a lot.
How many animals do you think lost their lives?
Oh, animals. I'm gonna say.
I like that they call them people versus beast.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 500,000.
1 million.
How could you? What do you do with? Could you imagine the smell?
I
What do you
know.
do with the carcasses?
I know. Maybe you eat them. Maybe you eat the animals. I don't know. I don't know if wolf is good to eat.
Bear isn't any good.
You don't like bear? Oh, I'm okay with it.
It's a little
pretty
gamey, kind of
yeah.
greasy.
It's very greasy, yeah, fatty. 100-day long festivals. What was it? The original name of the Colosseum was what?
I can't pronounce. It
The
begins with an F.
Flavian Amphitheater?
And that's because that was like
From the Flavian
reign,
dynasty,
the Flavian,
yes.
yeah, the multiple Caesars.
The amount of marble used?
I have no idea.
100,000 cubic meters. That's a lot. And then, let's see, the last thing I have here that's a fun fact is back to the underground. It consisted of 2 levels of subterranean network. So
That's
one
pretty
network
cool.
of tunnels wasn't enough. They had 2, and they had 32 animal pens down there and 80 vertical shafts to provide instant access to either pump in more gladiators, more animals. I don't know, shoot fireworks. Did they do that?
I'm guessing they did.
Speaking of fireworks, if you want to know how they work, why don't you check out our episode on
my
fireworks?
Goodness, I'm gonna punch you right in the face.
So that's all I have for the Colosseum. Do you have anything else?
No, I don't. But I feel like the magnitude of these 3 things, James, is close to the magnitude of what 50 episodes of Unprofessional Engineering is.
I feel like if the creators of these things looked back and they compared it to the accomplishments we've come to of 50 episodes of Unprofessional Engineering, they would be amazed at the things we've done compared to the little paltry things they've accomplished.
Poultry.
Is that good?
Did you say poultry or poultry?
Poultry. Poultry were some of the animals that they fought in the Colosseum.
So all I'm going to say is I haven't done all 50 with you, but
No.
this has been an amazing run so far, and I can't wait to do another 50.
Get to number 100. That's going to be great.
What are we going to do for 100?
I feel like we need to do an off-site party for 100.
and like
don't you
have
think?
people come and watch it live,
that would be
like a
great.
Mike and Mike style
Yeah,
kind of thing.
maybe we'll have a bigger following by then, and they could do that.
I hope so.
I mean, it's hard to believe it could get any bigger than it is.
It is hard to believe.
So after we did these 3 great things, what's your ranking on the most interesting and the
Of these
most
3?
and the best engineering?
I'm gonna. It has to be the pyramids.
The pyramids is the
Yeah.
best engineering. Is
I-
that also the most interesting to you?
I think it's the most interesting to me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to say that the Colosseum is the most interesting, though I might be swayed a little because of the cool battles they had.
Okay.
But I think it's also the best engineering. Now, I'm not saying that it's the most amazing feat, because I think the pyramids are, with how accurate they are
Mm-hmm.
and how they drug the blocks around, and it was so old.
Yeah.
But I think the engineering, basically because it's 2,500 years newer, is better in the Colosseum, taking advantage of concrete, arches. They were the first people to implement pulley systems and cranes when they were building.
and they took in water and
They had an
aqueducts and
active
plumbing
sewer
and,
system.
Yeah.
I think the engineering behind that's really the most amazing.
The pyramid is basically just a giant tomb.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a big block. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's it. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the extra half hour of amazing information this
I know
week.
I enjoyed it.
Me too. All right. Until next week.
See you guys.